So you may have heard this story. This guy, George Allen Kelly, 73, is being charged with murder because a guy who was on his property was shot. They say he did it. It was an illegal immigrant with numerous felony crossings, I guess. And the issue now apparently is they're saying he hunted these migrants down to kill them. Yeah. What I find strange is that Arizona, I'm pretty sure, is a defensive property state, meaning you can kill someone to defend your property. Like if someone is about to cross onto your property, my understanding is that you have a right to use lethal force if they don't stop. So what's strange about this case is that here's a guy who's on his own property. Clearly someone's breaking the law. They end up shot and dead. But this guy gets arrested. I'm wondering, how does that make sense?
Well, he was trespassing, right? I mean, that's
in the country and the land.
Right. Well, and that's what Vivek Ramaswamy just announced for president, and he talks about the difference between immigration and illegal immigration, or people coming across the border illegally. And I think that's the crux of the matter here. Is this guy, he's crossed the border illegally, and then he's crossed into somebody's property illegally, right? And this guy's defending his property. He has a right to do that, as opposed to somebody who goes through INS and goes through the process to get the green card and does all of that. And I think that underscores what we were just talking about the need to be precise in our language. Right. And that's why I kind of like Vivek and him coming out and running for president now, but it is to be precise in our language and understand what is happening here is why you see so much confusion about situations like this, and the media just seems to play into that.
This guy says that he just fired warning shots and there's no evidence that his bullets hit the guy, which to me sounds like he might be telling a lie, that maybe he did go out there to shoot the trespassers, but now he's afraid that if he says it out loud, he'll go to jail for sure. So he changed his story. But when you change your story, then you look like a liar. That's kind of what I'm looking at the path of this situation at the moment.
I think the Biden administration and Democrats want more illegal immigration for a variety of reasons. One, so they can increase the population in their states. They're bringing these people in, putting them on planes and flying them to swing states and blue states. And they also want the short-term economic demand. Bringing in a whole bunch of people and putting them in cities will create temporary short-term demand, followed by stagnation and economic crisis. But that short-term gain looks good for them on paper. They can use it to get reelected. And the long-term gain is bringing in a bunch of people who will increase the census numbers, giving them more electoral college votes and congressional seats. So when a guy who lives there says, hey, get off my property, they're coming right for me, they go, this guy needs to be made, we need to make an example of him so that people don't screw with our agenda. You take a look, was it for McAllen, Texas? Is that where it's at? Where under the bridge, they had all those people? The Biden administration clearly is happy with what's going on. People talk about the southern border and Biden letting us down or failing or whatever. And it's like, no, he's doing exactly what he intended to do the whole time.
This is 100% by design. This is the intent of the Democrats. They have had full authority to do something for 2 years. They have done nothing. They did nothing during the Obama administration. This has been the Democrats' plan for the better part of the past 20 years to have cheap labor be imported into the country. It's completely clear. I can't take anyone that argues against that seriously.
It's been going on for 250 years, dude. The southern states imported cheap labor through the African slave trade and wanted to use those numbers to pad their stats.
No.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Bro.
Okay,
brother.
All right.
It's different stuff.
They had
it is.
They
true.
wanted to use those numbers to inflate their stats.
You can say truthfully that bringing slaves in was quote unquote cheap labor, but migrants coming here is not the same as slavery. Yeah, migrants are coming here of their own volition. Like they're walking, like they want to do it. Like there weren't a lot of people that were in Africa that were like, I'm going to go to America and be a slave.
It wasn't.
Like, they weren't running out and jumping on the slave ship.
Right. It's definitely worse. The slave trade
as soon
was
as
worse.
Biden got elected, or it looked like he was going to be elected and become president, you had a mass migration from Central America the way up through, because they knew that they were going to be allowed to come through. And before that, you had to remain in Mexico.
They had shirts that said, please let us in Biden or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, no, they asked for it. And, Kamala Harris comes out and says, well, don't come right? And of course, they're going to listen. They can even hear what she's saying, right? I mean, they're not sitting there, on their phones going, "Oh, well, Kamala said not to go. Let's go back."
Kamala
I mean,
Harris helped
it's
make
like-
one of the best memes of that year.
Yeah.
too.
Look at these.
The reason I
there were a
brought
bunch
up
of these.
The reason I brought up the African slave trades because the numbers padding that they're doing with the census, like what I erroneously said that they said all black people were worth 3/5 of a person in the eyes of God 2 nights ago. That's not what it was about.
was only
It was
slaves.
about the North trying to say, like, look, we're not going to let you pad your stats for the states with
Right.
your slaves. We'll say they're worth 3/5 of a person each legally, just so
Well,
we can
it was an
even
effort
out
to
the-
weaken slavery.
And
is
so
what it
now
was.
we've got
The North said they're not voting people because they're slaves. The South said yes, they are, and then they agreed on 3/5.
Right. They were property. The South wanted to call them property, whatever. But now we've got people that are padding stats 1 for 1. They're not legal citizens. So what do we need? Another 3/5 clause? Do we need to say,
No, how about
no.
don't break the law? And
Right.
How
go
about
home.
just enforce the existing laws?
That right
well,
there.
the problem is
That's it.
sanctuary states because existing law
illegal.
is
They're
different.
breaking the law.
It is illegal.
The federal government has, whether or not you agree with like open borders or not, currently the federal government is the organization charged with protecting the borders and enforcing border law, and they are completely and totally neglecting to do that.